Good afternoon and welcome to the Lincoln City Council meeting of April 8th, 2024. In accordance with LB 898, please be advised that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is located at the back of the room by the northwest door. Let us all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silent meditation. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The order of the business of the Lincoln City Council is as follows. The clerk will call all the items listed on the agenda. Under public hearing, anyone wishing to speak on an item must first register and sign in at the table located in the lobby. The council shall require any member of the public desiring to address the council to identify himself or herself, including an address and the name of any organization represented, unless the address requirement is waived to protect the security of the individual. Anyone wishing to speak on an item on the agenda should come forward after the clerk reads that item. The applicant may then make one short rebuttal. Each speaker should begin by stating their name, address, organization, and whether you are speaking in favor of or in opposition to the item. Testimony is limited to 5 minutes per speaker. After all public hearings, the council will vote on resolutions and items listed under third reading. On the second and last Mondays of the month immediately prior to adjournment, anyone may speak on an issue not on the agenda for that date nor planned for a future agenda. Madam Clerk, would you please call our first item?
Our first item of business today is our Mayor's Award of Excellence.
Mayor, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairperson Beckius and members of the council. It is an honor to be before you today, not just for one award, but a couple of awards. We are here today to present the annual Mayor's Award of Excellence for both 2021 and 2022. And at the beginning of the year, all of the previous winners of monthly Mayor's Awards of Excellence are then reconsidered along with anyone who's been nominated in the previous year for the annual award. And a committee goes ahead and reviews those nominations and selections and makes their ultimate choice of the annual winner. So before we present the annual Mayor's Award of Excellence for 2021, I wanted to start with an honorable mention award for 2021. And that goes to the September 2021 Mayor's Award of Excellence winners, equipment operator Cody Mitchell and concrete finisher Joel Brunke with Lincoln Transportation and Utilities Street Operations Division. As you may recall, they were nominated by Transportation Maintenance Coordinator Clayton Engelman in the category of Valor for their heroic efforts to assist a community member when a bridge collapsed near the place that they were working. The duo's decisive action and coordination were instrumental in getting rapid assistance to the resident and enabling him to survive. In his nomination, Engelman wrote that, quote, "Their valorous actions are commendable, and a reminder that any one of us may be asked to help another in distress at any time. And with guys like Cody and Joel around, that help is always right around the corner." So I hope you'll please join me in congratulating, once again, Cody Mitchell and Joel Brunke, our Honorable Mention Award winners for the annual Mayor's Award of Excellence for 2021. And if they could come on up, and I'll give them their awards. Director Liz Elliott of LTU is here to say a few words about the team.
It really is an honor to be able to recognize them today. These are two outstanding members of Lincoln Transportation and Utilities, and they exemplify every day the values of our city in every aspect of their life. And we're immensely grateful that they were there and that they acted so quickly in responding to this emergency situation. It's not something you anticipate any day that you go to work, but their calm and cool reaction just speaks volumes of their character and how they react under pressure. Their actions reflect the very best of what it means to be part of our team, and we are incredibly proud to have them as team members of LTU. And so thank you for recognizing them today.
Thank you so much, Director Elliott. And then Cody or Joel, do you have any words you would like to share today?
That sounds like a no. Okay.
Are there some family members here you might want to just point out for the rest of us to acknowledge and thank?
Oh, yeah, I know where they're sitting. My wife's back there in the red, Jenny, my son Landon, my daughter Ashlyn, her friend Mo, and my mom Pam.
Awesome.
Let's thank all of you. Okay, we really appreciate the families who support our team members' work, so thank you for being here too. It's now my honor to present the annual Mayor's Award of Excellence for the year 2021. And this award goes to the November 2021 Mayor's Award of Excellence winners, investigators Tim Cronin and Matthew Franken of the Lincoln Police Department. They were nominated by Sergeant Mike Ripley in the category of productivity for their efforts to resolve a 2.5-year homicide investigation that resulted in the conviction of 5 individuals. In his nomination, Sergeant Ripley wrote, quote, "The amount of dedication and professionalism shown by Investigator Franken and Investigator Cronin was crucial to the successful outcome of this case and also provided closure to the children and other family members who still suffer from the trauma of this event." We're very grateful that they were able to provide that closure and get to that resolution, and so I hope you will please join me in congratulating Tim Cronin and Matthew Franken, the winners of our annual Mayor's Award of Excellence for 2021. So come on up. Chief Morrow's here to say a few words as well.
Hi, and good afternoon, Council. It is an honor for me to be here today to celebrate and honor 2 of our investigators in our criminal investigations. This call for service goes back to 2018, so it has been years. But what I can tell you, I hope on behalf of them, is that there are certain cases that we work as law enforcement officers that will live with us for the rest of our lives. And this call is one that certainly shocked the conscience of our community and left children without a mom. And these 2 investigators, Investigator Tim Cronin, Investigator Matt Franken, dedicated endless hours to seek justice on behalf of her family and for those children now growing up in our community. What I want to highlight for you is this is the work that they do day in and day out for us. It's incredible, and we are so grateful to have them because they work on not just behalf of the department and in our mission, but truly on behalf of our community and giving of their time away from their family, from call outs in the middle of the night, early morning hours, their weekend time, to ensure that they have uncovered every stone and really worked these investigations to a conclusion. And this case is one that we can certainly look at and highlights their efforts. I thank you for all that you do.
Thank you so much, Chief. Matt or Tim, would you like to come forward and say a few words? No, okay.
Come on, you guys.
Well, how about,
I'd just like to say there's many more investigators that
Come on
also
up.
helped out in this case, so we're honored to take this.
we do appreciate the work of your entire department. We know it's a team effort, so thank you. I know that it's also a team effort for the families involved who support the sacrifices that our officers and investigators and sergeants make. So would you like to point out your family members who are here today, starting with you, Tim?
Yep. My wife Jessica's here, my 2 daughters, Riley and Reagan. Got out of school for this.
Matt, how about you?
My wife Marianne and my son Holden, Brianne, and my daughter Kaylee.
All right.
And they're college students who are likely interrupting a nap or something.
All right. Well, with that, it's now my honor to present the annual Mayor's Award of Excellence for the year 2022. And that award goes to the July 2022 Mayor's Award of Excellence winner, Michelle Zulke. And she's a technology support specialist with Lincoln Transportation and Utilities. And I know you know about her because I know you're very familiar with the excellence of her work. She was nominated by LTU Director Liz Elliott in the categories of customer relations and productivity for her work to create the department's informative, interactive, and visually appealing web pages. And in her nomination, Elliott noted that Michelle spent countless hours creating beautiful and easy-to-use web pages that have improved productivity for LTU and created a great customer experience. I know we all refer people to the projects page. So would you please join me in congratulating Michelle Zulke, the winner of our annual Mayor's Award of Excellence for 2022. This is back.
Thank you. I nominated Michelle. She every day does an amazing job. I give her a very poorly explained idea, and she can just take it and turn it into magic and makes it such a great user experience. It's one where I know I use it multiple times a day, and it just provides very easily accessible information that enhances our communication, our transparency about all of the projects and work that we do here at the city. And I just can't thank her enough for all of the work that she did, not only on the projects page, but when the city shifted new citywide websites a couple years ago, she played an intricate role in that. And every day she's working on enhancing that communication and access to the public. So a huge thank you to Michelle for all that she does. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Elliott. Michelle, would you like to say a few words? And if you do, come on up. Please don't be shy. I want everyone to be able to hear you.
It was just a very rewarding project to work on, and I'm grateful for the opportunity, and I'm honored to receive this award. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And do you have some family here? Or
I don't have
everyone?
family here,
Yeah.
but I think my parents are probably streaming.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mom, Dad. Yeah, it's okay.
All right, well, thank you. And let's give her another round of applause. And thank you.
Thank you, and I think it's safe to say on behalf of the entire City Council that we also thank you for all of your dedicated service to the City of Lincoln. You are what makes Lincoln great, and we really appreciate all of your hard work. So thank you again. All right. We'll give our award recipients a few moments and their families to exit the chambers. Unless they'd like to stick around and watch the City Council meeting. You're more than welcome.
I'm sure they want to.
Hey, Tim, it's a good job of planning this the same time as the eclipse.
That was prayer too.
We'll give them just one more second. Madam Clerk, whenever you are ready.
Okay. Next on our agenda is our consent agenda, sections 1, sections 2, and 3.
Is there anyone here to speak on anything on the consent agenda? Again, that would be sections 1, 2, or 3. Anyone here to speak on today's consent agenda, sections 1, 2, or 3? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, if you take us through those calls.
Sure. Item 1A is approving the distribution of funds representing interest earnings on short-term investments of idle funds during the month ended February 29th of 2024, introduced by Carlson.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Weber, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Dudid,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 2A was introduced by Schob.
So moved?
Second.
Second, Weber, discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Dudin,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. That ends our consent agenda. We shall move on to section 4, our public hearing liquor resolutions. I'll call items 4A and 4B together. Application of Tips and Toes Nail Spa, Inc., doing business as Tips and Toes Nail Spa for a Class I liquor license located at 3800 Old Cheney Road, Suite 101 through 103, and the related manager application of My Hun Win.
Is there anyone here to speak on items 4A and 4B today? Anyone here who would like to speak on items 4A and 4B? Okay, see none, let's move on to the next.
I'll call items 4C and 4D together. Application of GHC LRC Operator LLC, doing business as Genesis Health Clubs for a Class I liquor license located at 5300 Old Cheney Road, and the related manager application of Ann E. Hemingway.
Is there anyone here to speak on items 4C and 4D today? Anyone who would like to speak on items 4C and 4D? All right, see none, let's move on to the next.
I'll call items 4E and 4F together. Application of Eli Events, Inc., doing business as Gala Events for a Class I liquor license located at 2602 Park Boulevard, and the related manager application of KCA Eli.
Is there anyone here to speak on items 4E and 4F? Anyone who would like to speak on items 4E and 4F? All right, see none, let's move on to the next.
I'll call items 4G and 4H together. Application of Los Cabos Grill LLC, doing business as Los Cabos Grill for a Class I liquor license located at 8901 Andermatt Drive, Suite 107, and the related manager application of Miguel Gomez.
Hello, come on forward. Yep. Welcome. Yep, either side is fine. And if you gentlemen would just please start with your name and address.
Su nombre y su dirección.
Miguel Gómez Gómez. Es
1488.
1488
North
North
8th
8th
Street, Davis City.
Street, Davis City.
Well, his nephew, Miguel, too, and he doesn't speak a lot of English, so I'm kind of helping him.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming down here today. Could
It's an
you-
honor to be here.
Could you please tell us a little bit about the application before us?
Yes, he was kind of telling me what he wanted to say. So he's been in the business, restaurant business for 8 years over in David City. I don't know if you ever guys stop over there. So he's been doing a great job, never selling alcohol to any minors, and has clean record and everything. And a lot of people, Lincoln, they told him he needs to come to that side of the Lincoln to bring margaritas and more good food and everything. So that's why he decided to open on that area. And
Okay, very good. And it appears that Miguel currently operates one other liquor license in David City, is that correct?
yes, he has a manager there,
Okay,
which is Jorge.
okay, very good. Thank you so much. Let me see if my colleagues have any other questions for you, okay?
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Yes, Councilman?
Mr. Chair, thank you, Mr. Chair. Gentlemen, thanks for coming forward. Can you give me a better idea of where you're located, what you're next to, some geographical references? How do I find your restaurant?
Oh, where in David City or
In Lincoln, the Lincoln
It's
location.
right in front of the Menards and next to Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yes.
It's another map. I don't know. I think it's Subway. We're in the same building.
Thank you, that helped.
Alright.
Yes,
All right, very good.
thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we don't have any other questions. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on items 4G or 4H? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and move on to 4I.
Item 4I is application of Super Taco LLC, doing business as Super Taco for an addition of an indoor area measuring approximately 54 feet by 32 feet at 5501 Holdridge Street, Suite D.
Is there anyone here to speak on item 4I? Application of Super Taco. Anyone for 4I? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to 4J.
Item 4J is application of Fast Taco LLC, doing business as Tipsy's Tina Taco Cantina for a special designated license to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 35 feet by 100 feet at 800 Q Street on May 5th, 2024, from 2 p.m. to 11:55 p.m.
Is there anyone here who would like to speak on item 4J? Hello.
Hi.
Welcome.
Joel Shasso, 1053 Middleton Avenue, Lincoln, Nebraska, owner of Tipsy Tina's Taco Cantina. This is the Cinco de Mayo event, similar, actually exactly the same as last year, similar to 2022. And I'm basically here in case there's any questions, just to make sure there's nothing that's out there lingering that people are wondering.
Very good. Thanks for coming down. Surely appreciate it. Councilman Show.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Joe, for coming down. Sunday this year, right?
Sunday.
And the weather wasn't so much fun last time around, was it?
No, we've been a little unlucky with the weather a couple of years, but turnout's always great. The city's awesome. People come down.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman.
Yeah, my only question, I've asked this before with some of your other licenses, are council members invited to attend this event?
Council members are invited to attend, yes.
Oh, good to know. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Councilman?
This will be right after the
Marathon.
race.
Yep,
too.
it'll be right after the marathon, be in the
A lot
morning.
of thirsty, hungry people.
Well, we're hoping so. We're hoping so. They get a little recovery time afterwards downtown. Yeah, absolutely.
You won't be able to do any much dancing, though.
I don't know. They're pretty athletic and pretty good shape. They probably can.
Good enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for coming down. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 4J?
Mr. Chair, I see no one else coming forward, so if you will allow me, I would like to make a motion that we approve items 4A through 4J on today's agenda.
Second?
Second, Carlson. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. That will conclude our section 4 of our agenda. We shall move on to section 5, which is our public hearing resolutions. I'll call item 5A, Comprehensive Plan Conformance 24002, a request of the City of Lincoln Urban Development Department to review as to conformance with the 2050 Lincoln-Lancaster County Comprehensive Plan, a proposed amendment to the Lincoln Center redevelopment plan and south of downtown redevelopment and strategic plan to add the League of Nebraska Municipalities redevelopment project for the demolition of the existing structures and construction of a 2-story office building on the property generally located at the southwest corner of 14th and L Streets.
Director Hine, welcome.
Good afternoon. Peter Hind, Director of Urban Development, 555 South 10th Street. What a honor it is to be here today. What a great project for the City of Lincoln. The League of Nebraska Municipalities redevelopment project is here. We have, the architect is here as well, and members of the league are going to come up and talk, but I thought I would just introduce the project, and we'll get through this. I want to say thank you to a couple of people first. Our staff working with the league did a tremendous amount of work getting us to this point. Stephanie Rouse in the planning department was instrumental in helping us navigate through the Historic Preservation Commission and some questions that were before us with the project. And also just wanted to point out one of the things that I know I brought to urban development was the idea of collateral benefit. You know, when we're doing a project, how can it benefit other parts of the city and the state? And NDEE has supplied some financing to help with some asbestos abatement on this project. So there's been a lot of really good work happening. So the location of the project, I'll share a site plan with you, locating the project. I'm going to share two, actually, so you can understand its proximity to the Capitol building. I think you might recognize this building here. And 14th and L Street will be the league. And I always like to show this map. I'll put it this way, maybe. I'm zoomed out all the way, but you can see the project site, the two sites that are there, the Women's Club building and the current league building, and then of course the redevelopment plan or a map around it, K Street, 13th Street, 14th and L, and the alley. I think that's important. So, two-story office. I'm not going to describe the building that much because the architect is here to do that and will do a better job than I will. But it involves the demolition of two buildings, and I think that's important to know that a lot of work has been done to study those buildings, to study that demolition and the improvement. But it's a $6.5 million project. Around $500,000 of funding will come from TIF and our involvement. We're going to work on that later on, coming before you in the future. It may include demolition, site preparation, remediation, utility improvements or relocation, construction of the street, streetscape amenities, and other public right-of-way improvements. Energy efficiency, sustainability improvements, facade improvements, on-street parking and amenities, including historic markers and other related public improvements. Historic Preservation Commission passed this unanimously on January 18th. It then went to Capital Environs Commission January 26th with full support, and then the Planning Commission approved this on consent as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the benefits of the project. That's why we're here today. It's located in the Capital Environs District, and it's taking cues from the Capitol for scale and the size of the project. And plan forward, it encourages a mixed-use development and well-designed and appropriately placed infill development. This project meets that requirement of high-quality, durable design for redevelopment projects that enhances the surrounding neighborhood. The plan encourages higher density development with parking areas at the rear of the building. So you'll see the new parking is sort of sequestered in the back down the alley. The 2018 Downtown Master Plan, it encourages consolidation and maintenance of government-related offices and employment in the downtown area, particularly those in the Capitol core area. This project obviously meets that requirement. The Lincoln Center redevelopment plan, the primary goal of this plan is to enhance downtown Lincoln as the dominant mixed-use, multi-use center for activity. Here's how it applies to the Lincoln Center plan. Intensifying and strengthening Lincoln Central Business District as an employment hub for the community, utilizing underdeveloped lots and removing blight, enhancing the aesthetics of downtown to improve pedestrian environment, and encouraging private development in the project area that supports and enhances the architectural character of both the Capital Environs District and the Capitol View Corridor. This project certainly does that. It also works with our Climate Action Plan and the South of Downtown Redevelopment Plan. So I'll just close with that and invite Travis, I think, is going to come up and talk about the architecture of the project. Do you have any questions of me at this time for this project?
Any questions for Director Hein at this point? Seeing none?
I'll be here till the end.
Very good.
Go ahead.
You. Hello,
Thank you,
welcome.
Director Hines. And thank you. I want to echo the words that Peter was able to say. Just been a wonderful relationship that we've been able to have with the City of Lincoln and the Urban Development Office working through this project. As mentioned, looking at the demolition of 2 buildings on that lot and looking at a building in its place that is far more appropriate for the downtown setting we have here in the Capitol Environs. Looking at a design that is primarily heavy in the white brick, complementary of the state capitol with a nice solid base to really ground it there. Introducing a far more landscaping in this area than we currently see and really trying to reinvigorate this area and really generate a lot of redevelopment in this area that we want to see. The League has been a tenant of this part of town for several decades, and it was important to the League to remain here, to build a building that can last for decades well into the future, complementing a building that they go to quite often, the state capitol. And so using the cues that we have from the state capitol in the Art Deco design, really reminiscent of the entire larger Capitol Environs area. Some of those details will be seen here, and really also give a lot of memory back to the Women's Club building that is currently on the site and is scheduled for demolition. So along with me today is Lynn Rex, the Executive Director of the League of Nebraska Municipalities.
Lynn, welcome.
Thank you. Lynn Rex, L-Y-N-N-R-E-X, 6740 Shamrock Road. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Appreciate your thoughtful consideration of this project. It's been a long time coming. We think it fits very well with the Capitol Environs area and will be servicing our 527 cities and villages across the state, as well as many others who will be using our building. So we just so appreciate your consideration. I have to tell you, your urban development department, I've always thought well of them. Exceptional. They are simply exceptional. I mean, they've gone way beyond the call of duty in providing assistance to us. And as you might imagine, the League of Nebraska Municipalities is working TIF legislation as we speak. And so these are very important elements. And so we've always worked with your staff. but it's been on legislation. This is our first experience and will be our only experience working with them in a direct project like this. They've just been outstanding. I just can't say enough about them. Peter and Hallie, the entire staff. So again, really appreciate them. It's been a privilege working with Clark Anderson, an absolute privilege working with Hampton Enterprises, which will be building the building. And this is going to be extraordinary for the downtown area and for our members for decades to come. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Very good. Thank you, Lynn. We appreciate you coming down. Questions for Ms. Rex or any of the development team? No? Very good. Well, just want to say thank you for all of your work with the design and architecture of the building. And Lynn, thank you to the league and its membership base and its continued investment in downtown Lincoln.
Thank
Close
you.
to the Capitol.
It's a privilege. Thank you.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 5A? Anyone else here who would like to speak on item 5A? All right, seeing none, let's move on to the next.
Item 5B is appealed by James Michael Bowers of the Star Tran Advisory Board action approving the temporary transfer center relocation proposal.
Just one moment, sir. Sorry. We have Director Elliott here who's going to give a presentation.
Oh, okay. Well, I've probably heard it before, but I'll sit and listen patiently.
Yep, and then we'll move on to public comment. Thank you. Director Elliott, welcome.
Thank you, and I will try and make this fast, Richard. Liz Elliott, Director of Lincoln Transportation and Utilities, 555 South 10th Street. We are here today in response to a City Council appeal of the February 29th Star Tran Advisory Board's unanimous approval of the transfer station relocation. The transfer center relocation is necessary due to significant construction activity next to the current location. This construction site is not only creating daily challenges to maintaining a safe environment, it's also creating a less than ideal environment for our Star Tran customers. Moreover, the construction of this council-approved redevelopment project is expected to continue for the next several years. Our efforts to temporarily relocate the bus transfer center involved extensive analysis by our dedicated staff. This process included several public engagement initiatives, including an additional month designated for gathering additional community feedback. Through the feedback that we've received, thorough analysis of various options, and a commitment to that community input, we developed a compromise solution aimed at ensuring the safety and high-quality services for our customers and residents. This collaborative approach has led us to a solution that we feel best serves the needs of our entire community. The compromise solution effectively addresses the concerns raised by the community, and it enhances the overall customer experience of Star Tran riders. This solution strikes a balance that accommodates various interests and will serve us well as we progress towards our shared ultimate goal of a permanent multimodal transportation center. This solution addresses parking concerns, streamlines pedestrian movements, enhances safety and security measures, ensures inclusive accessibility, provides a comfortable waiting area, and it expands passenger amenities. And I want to take just a few minutes to dive into a couple of these items. First, one of the biggest concerns that we heard were regarding bus passengers having to cross L Street, a fairly busy street, especially during peak hours of the day. The other concern that we heard were impacts to on-street parking along 11th Street south of L Street. So based on this feedback, we shifted the bus stops to ensure that all of the stops are on the north side of L Street, which means that no customer has to cross L Street to catch a bus, and no on-street parking is impacted by this change. We also heard about safety and maintenance of the site. As you all know, we currently have a contract with off-duty LPD officers at our current location. We also currently have maintenance for cleanup of the area as well as snow removal at our current site. As we were looking at that, all of that will continue. As we were doing this analysis of different sites, I did consult with LPD regarding the location layout. They agreed that this location does provide the opportunity for an even safer center, given the configuration, 90 degrees, no areas for dark corners or different places to hide or do nefarious activity. In addition to our ongoing LPD off-duty contract and maintenance and snow removal contracts, we were also going to enhance the lighting in this area and add security cameras, neither of which exist at our current site due to the construction site that is that location. We will also continue to maintain during the winter that all snow and ice are cleared in all of the areas where the bus stop locations are. Finally, the other big concern that we have heard, and we have heard it for the last several years, is the lack of restrooms for our customers and for our operators. As you know, we've not had restrooms at our current location. This opportunity does allow for us to install a couple restrooms in this area. So this is something that will be an enhancement to what we already have. This is going to be really beneficial, not only for our passengers, but also our employees. So we're improving the quality of service for both employees and customers, I think will be a welcome change by everyone who utilizes StarTrans services. From addressing the parking concerns to streamlining pedestrian movement, enhancing the safety and security measures, making sure that we do have inclusive accessibility, providing comfortable covered waiting areas, and expanding passenger amenities are all of the factors that were taken into consideration by the StarTran Advisory Board. And it was based on the culmination of all of these solutions that led the board to unanimously approve this compromise solution. And just in closing, not that the new multimodal transportation center is connected to this. Ultimately, the move is due to the construction and the construction site that does exist now and will exist for the next couple years, is that we ultimately are wanting to get out of the 11th Street corridor to allow that to continue to grow and be a vibrant area. And we have a preferred location that we are currently doing preliminary design on, as well as environmental work. And that's part of this city-county complex between 9th and 10th, G and H Street. We want to have a permanent site that has all of these amenities, that provides a better experience and a community gathering spot for everybody, not just StarTran users. And so this compromise plan really just sets the path to getting us to where we really want to be. And so this is a schedule in front of it. Right now, we are at the NEPA phase. That will take us through the center, through the summer, and we will be able to finalize designs. We are on track to have this completed by 2027. And with that, as I promised I would be short, I'd be willing to take questions, or if you're wanting to hear from all of the other testifiers, I'm happy to stick around and we'll answer questions at the end.
Very good. Let's see if we have any initial questions now. Questions for Liz? Yes, Councilman.
Liz, I think it's important, you talked about restrooms being installed in an area. Have you narrowed that area down to where?
Yes, so I've been working with a developer on the property owner on this, and what they're going to be I don't know a better way to explain it, but container style restrooms that will actually be installed in the building, but the access to the doors will be from the outside. So you don't have to go into the building. You'll be able to immediately access the restrooms from the waiting space. They're secured, they're controlled, they'll be cleaned and maintained on a regular basis.
Thank you.
Other questions? Yes, Councilman?
I think the question that I'd start off with, and then I'm interested to hear the public comment, and then I'll probably have some more questions for you. One of the biggest concerns that people have had has been that this will last longer than 3 years, and that a temporary solution becomes a permanent solution. And so I'm just kind of knowing that things can kind of get caught up in, like, assessments and, with the federal process. Can you just kind of respond to that a little bit about, what we can do to ensure that this would be a temporary solution?
This absolutely is a temporary solution. We received a $23.6 million raise grant from the Federal Department of Transportation. That grant is to build a permanent multimodal. That grant has a deadline on that to be obligated by the end of, I believe it's 2027, I believe, and then it's spent by 2028. I'll confirm that before I come back. And so that is something that none of us want to see lapse. If we don't spend that money, then that's something we're just not going to let happen. This is a temporary. We will build a multimodal transportation center.
Can you explain what obligated means when we're obligated to?
Definitely. So obligated means that we have to have all of the contracts in place, signed, executed, and that essentially obligates the money. So the only thing left is to complete it and pay the bills.
I think that's all the questions that I have for right now.
Okay.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Director Elliott?
Yes, I have some questions just going off of that, and then I'll save the rest of them for after public hearing. Talking about temporary, what does LTU, what does the city define as a temporary location? You know, that's something I've been asked a lot. I think is important to have.
A temporary meaning essentially from now, well, we're getting short on 3 years, but right at 3 years. We're on track to have the new multimodal transportation center completed by the beginning of 2027. As soon as that is up and running, we will shift to that location.
Okay. And then going off of that, you know, gosh forbid, right, there's any hiccups with the multimodal, you know, transit center, knock on wood. Is there anything that requires that this temporary location continues to be the home, you know, after construction of the Golds project?
No.
Already.
It could definitely move to another location or back to the Gold site area.
Even if there are potential issues down the road with the transit center?
Yes. Okay. Our plan is to have a lease with the property owner at that location that just goes to 2027.
Awesome. That's all my questions for now, Director Elliott. I promise I'll have others later.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions at all?
I just have one question off
yes.
what Brody said. I'm not going to ask for an answer to this, but just because I assume you might want to talk with law first to see if this would be possible. But if there's nothing in there that says that this would then become the permanent home of the transfer station if something did happen to the grant, is there something that we could do to then provide a guarantee in to make sure that if this doesn't happen for whatever reason, right? Like if for whatever reason this grant doesn't, we don't fulfill it or whatever, is there anything we can do to guarantee that this then would not become the permanent home? And again, I'm sure you probably have to do research before.
First, the permanent multimodal transportation center will happen. It will happen by 2027. And this week, I am sure we could. I would talk to the law department on this, but the lease that we have discussed with this property owner is to expire in 2027. And so we definitely could include that in the lease agreement, that there are no renewals on that. Any lease agreement would come before City Council for approval. Any multi-year lease would come before City Council for approval.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Director Elliott? Director Elliott, I do have one quick question. Is this the first time that, to your knowledge, that StarTran will have restrooms at a transfer station? Is this a first?
It is. We've had them off and on, depending on what was going on at Gold's, but it wasn't necessarily open fully to the public. So this is the first time that I'm aware of where we would have fully accessible to both operators and the public.
Thank you very much. All right.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on item 5B? Please come forward. If we have multiple speakers, please come on down. If we have multiple speakers, we can take speakers at either side here. So if we have another speaker who would like to come forward, please go ahead and take that podium there. And Richard, we will start with you, sir, please.
Thank you. My name is Richard Schmeling, S-C-H-M-E-L-I-N-G. I'm at 445 Honor Drive, apartment 324, Lincoln, Nebraska, 68510. I'm president of a group called Citizens for Improved Transit. For those of you who are new to the city council, you haven't seen me, but for some of the older members, I'm a regular visitor, especially when we get in budget period, and that's coming up. Our group is a group that supports StarTran. We want to see an improved and expanded StarTran bus service. We have bus drivers, we have bus riders, and people that don't use the bus but are interested in our transportation system as our members. We've been around since 2015, and you have a handout there. One of our programs is that we buy up bus passes and give them to low-income needy people and distribute them to social service agencies. Now, as to this specific thing, I would indicate to you that on behalf of CFIT, I would like to see us go ahead and approve the temporary location at 11th and L. It's a much better plan than it started out to be. I understand the concerns about the off-street parking. That got solved. I understand the plans, the problem with the restrooms. And it's not ideal, but it's a lot better than what we had at Gold's. That was one of my most common complaints that I got over the phone is, where do I use the restroom? There's no restrooms there. Now, Mr. Beckius, in regard to your question, have we ever had a terminal transfer center? Back in the days of the streetcar, the Lincoln Terminal Building was the headquarters for Lincoln Traction, and all the streetcars hubbed out of that 10th and O intersection, and there was waiting room space in there, and people waited for the streetcars there. Once we went away from the streetcars and went to the buses, then Gold's sort of became the hub, but it wasn't a true terminal transfer facility. It was just a department store where people could wait around to catch the bus. So we really haven't, for a lot of years, had a true terminal transfer. This isn't ideal. It's temporary. It's the best we can do. It's an improvement because we will have restrooms, and the problem with the Satell's location, as I understand it, is that the interior of the Satel building was gutted out. They took out the electrical wiring and they took out the plumbing, and it was just space, and it was being used as warehouse space. And because it's a temporary facility, I think Transportation Utilities wisely decided not to spend a bunch of money putting electrical wiring and a bunch of plumbing back in there for such a short period of time. As I say, it's not ideal, it's workable, and on behalf of the riders, I'd just like to point out to some of the merchants that have fares that we're not all a bunch of bums that just sort of hang out. There are a lot of us common, ordinary citizens that use the bus system that will be in that terminal transfer facility. And I see my time is rapidly expiring. If there are any questions that any of you might have, I'll be glad to try to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Snelling. Any questions for Richard? Councilman?
Richard, it's always a joy seeing you. I was hoping you could kind of talk a little bit about safety. Can you talk a little bit about safety at the current transfer station of where it's at now, and what that looks like, and if it's a danger, and then also if you have any safety concerns about where the proposed temporary station is at?
Well, while Gold's was the part was being demolished, what they did was they fenced off the area and moved some bus shelters and benches slightly to get them further away from the demolition. But now that project is really taking off. We don't know, that might be the site of the new convention center for Lincoln. That's one proposal. But we just simply have to move away from Gold's. I don't see that as us being able to stay there from a safety concern and just a concern about they're going to need to have equipment on the streets there around the building to do what those developers want to do. In terms of Was it safe to be in the Golds area? Well, it's kind of a mixed bag. When I was down there waiting for buses, I saw drug deals go down. I saw guys fighting with each other, and I saw just unfortunate confrontations between people. Will this improve at the new temporary site? I think it will slightly, simply because we're going to be closer to the police department, and there can be some cruisers that cruise through that area. You've got your off-duty officer that's going to be there, and then maybe Liz can address this a little more, but I understand there's going to be better video monitoring of the area than what we have now. So it's not ideal, but I think it's going to be a step upward.
Thank you.
Other questions?
And thanks for all that you do for the low-income bus passes. I mean, that helps a ton of students within LPS, so thank you.
Yes, they're a big user, and right now LPS does not appropriate any money to buy bus passes, so I'm regularly out there at the head shed delivering some bus passes, and yeah, it's a great thing, and also those passes go to a number of other places: People City Mission, Community Action, Clinic with a Heart, Salvation Army, People, Center for People, Matt Talbot Kitchen and Outreach, Centerpoint. We're spreading them out as best we can. And the one thing that it does do for the bus system is it provides increased ridership. And I think Liz will be first to tell you that when you go for a federal grant, what you really need to show is you need to show increasing ridership. Those are the systems that get those grants, and we're doing our bit to do that.
Councilman Shob.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Richard, thanks for coming forward. I'm going to piggyback off of what my council friend said here to my right. You're doing good stuff. How does the rest of the Lincoln get involved and help you do good stuff? How do we learn more about CFIT or get involved in CFIT?
I will be more than happy to give you a sheet, which I should have brought today, that talks about our history, how we got founded, what we believe in, and what we do, and I'll make sure you get that at one of your subsequent meetings.
What about the public?
The public can join CFIT. Our membership dues are $20 a year, but some of our people can't afford it, so we don't get real hung up on that. And in terms of
phone number, website, email address, regular monthly meeting.
Yeah, okay. My phone number, 402-853-9537. And we have a post office box, P.O. Box 6384, Lincoln, Nebraska 68506. And our fundraising is just sort of a crazy quilt. We do cookouts at Super Saver. We got one coming up May 18th at Edgewood Super Saver. We have another one June 8th at Pine Lake Super Saver. We also work at Pizza Ranch and bus tables, and we get 10% of the take plus donations there. And we're part of Give Lincoln. And at any time, anybody that wants to help out can send a check to Lincoln Community Foundation, put it on their CFIT for bus passes, and we will be glad to get the money.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions for Richard? Yes, Councilman?
A comment that you've got cfitlincoln.com has a website, and all the information is there about donating and what you've done, and some videos and stuff like that too. So
yeah, we do have a website. I'm concerned that it may not be entirely up to date, but the last I knew it was still there, and it might have some of those basics on it. Yeah, we're going to try to get that updated.
Oh, calendar works. It's up to date. April 2024.
Okay, good. All right. Well, and last and finally, I want to wish each of you a happy Eclipse Day.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Richard. We appreciate it very much. We have an open microphone up here if we have another testifier who would like to go after Mr. Zimmerman. Welcome.
Mr. Chair, members of the council, Derek Zimmerman, on behalf of Rev Development, 10000 O Street, Lincoln, Nebraska, here to speak today in support of the relocation of the temporary transfer center. Rev Development is the company that is doing the redevelopment of the Golds project. A little bit of background. The project was in front of City Council in the fall of 2022, received unanimous approval. This was a project that was always contemplated to have the transfer center move as part of that redevelopment plan. There are 2 phases to the project. Phase 1's ongoing. That is the hotel space and separate restaurant space. That's set to be completed by the end of this year, hopefully sooner, hopefully by football season. So it's a great time of year for hotels and restaurants, but it'll be done this year. And then phase 2 was always contemplated to come after phase 1. And the transfer relocation needs to take place as part of both phases. It's not just one or the other. And the reason for that is for the safety of the ridership. And we've highlighted some points up to today, but there's also right-of-way work that we need to do that is even less conducive for the ridership than it is situated today. So the move is imperative. And as far as the relocation site, Ms. Elliott highlighted a lot of the things that are being provided. I do want to say there are some things that make it a little bit unique and different. Because of the way that the revised plan is set up, there are no buses that are going to be stopping in front of any other business owners or properties. It's going to be the site that we are leasing to the city, also the Carriage Park parking garage across the street. No loss of parking stalls, as Ms. Elliott identified. That was something at one point. We were willing to provide reserved parking stalls in the Carriage Park if necessary, but the revised plan, bringing everything north of L Street, made that unnecessary. This is a site that has cover. And why does that matter? It matters for a couple reasons. One, it means that sheltering doesn't need to take place in front of any other property or business. All the sheltering will take place in front of this property. It also means that the shade element of cooling, but we are also going to be installing heating element along the exterior under the canopy because right now that does not exist for the benefit of the ridership. We're installing that. And then the bathroom situation. We did listen to feedback from the businesses. Bathrooms was a big one. We did work to do what we could in terms of bathrooms. And prior testifier, Mr. Schmeling is correct. The interior is just not really an option in terms of letting people in. So we have been working forward on this. I also want to address some of the items related to, and I understand the concern. Hey, it's said to be temporary. How do we know? Well, I would say that the only way we could get this site to work was to have us acquire it. There was a discussion with the city trying to work with the prior owner. He was not interested in that. It was only going to happen through us. But having said that, economics will come into play. We are the owner of a property that we purchased that we need to make use of. We can't just let it sit there for the benefit of the city in perpetuity. And so Ms. Elliott's correct. It will be approved by council, but we do not have an intention to leave this sit there permanently because, frankly, the economics just won't permit it. So to summarize, this is a situation where the transfer center relocation was part of the plan that was discussed as part of Golds that we brought in front of council. We've done what we can to work within the confines as it's situated today, but the move does need to happen so we can do the right-of-way work, and it's for the safety of the passengers. We've done what we can to bring a lot of additional amenities and aspects that are not there for the ridership today, that'll also be for the benefit of the surrounding businesses because of what we are providing. So would ask for your support today. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to address them directly.
Any questions for Mr. Zimmerman? Yes, Councilman.
I'm going to just ask a simple question because I've had some concerns about it. People are concerned about the fence that surrounds the construction site as just being inadequate, loose, and frankly a little bit dangerous. So.
We did do reinforced fencing after we heard some of the feedback from that. If Councilman Duden, I'm honestly, I mean, when I hear that, I mean, we don't want that to happen. We want to fix everything as soon as we heard it. I mean, I was across the street. I walked there to see it. It had been fixed by the time I saw one of them. But I think that highlights the need to move it even more than leave it there today. because it's just not, as much as we've tried to work it, move things into right-of-way out, a redevelopment project in confined areas of downtown Lincoln, it's just not conducive to have that number of people around the project, and there's only going to be more.
Other questions, Councilman? Oh, Councilman?
Thank
Yes.
Can you talk about the timeline a little bit for the Satel property, for installing the bathrooms, that type of stuff? Do you have a construction timeline, or when will that happen, do you think?
Yesterday.
Yes.
I would say it's roughly a 2-month process. I mean, honestly, with the bathroom part of it, that may extend it a little bit, but roughly what I had heard was a 45 to 60 day time frame. We had contemplated doing this previously earlier, and I understand there was a need for further feedback. I'm not critical of that whatsoever, but what that does do is it does bring the timeline tighter for us to keep things moving. But 60 days is a rough time frame.
Oh, thank you.
And that's, Councilman Carlson, that's for everything. So it's not just one or the other.
Okay. Councilman Weber.
Awesome. Thank you, Chair Beckius. Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman, for coming down. I have a few questions for you. So there's 2 phases of this development project, and you guys are set to begin phase 1 right now, and that is when construction and the right-of-way will occur. Can you discuss a little bit of what that will look like for the riders, that use of the right-of-way?
As it exists today, I mean,
what it will look like in phase 1, and why you say that it's imperative, right? That we.
Mm-hmm. So it's, and pardon me a little bit. I'm gonna have to keep it a little bit general because I'm a lawyer by trade, not a construction worker. It's what we've done to date is to try to do construction as far out of the right-of-way as possible, and to the extent it's in the right-of-way, it's shifting it out. So we moved, that's where the prior testimony was talking about moving shelters out.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about work now that's going to take place within it, where they're located. So, and these are still, some of it's still subject to city approval, but utility work, streetscape work, if this is really far off, so don't hold me to this, but if there's a phase 2, there's a potential the Skywalk needs to be relocated as it sits today. So you can imagine the scope of work. And, again, the Skywalk thing, I don't want to divert because that's a future thing. But streetscape, utility, exterior facade work, to the extent you have to get up onto the exterior facade and be within the right-of-way, those are all things that we've avoided to the extent we can to date. And it's just on a going forward basis, it just isn't something that's realistic.
Okay. And I didn't mean to.
No, I finished complete.
And so there will be work occurring in the right-of-way during this phase 1 that is ongoing currently?
It's not ongoing currently. It will be going.
Okay.
Correct.
And so regardless of phase 2, you think that phase 1, we need this location to be moved now?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to have that clarified. And then I have some other questions. So the bathrooms, the developer is assisting the city with these restrooms. Are these bathrooms going to be available for the full duration of the temporary location?
Yes.
Okay.
And I mean, when we say full duration, I mean, I do think that we talk about safety aspect. I mean, we are providing them with an ability to be controlled and secured by LTU. Okay. So, what I'm trying to say is when they're all available, that doesn't mean they're going to be available at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
But in terms of once the installation happens, they're there during the term of the lease. And we haven't drafted the lease yet. We're waiting for a hopeful approval today. But if the city would like that to be included as a condition of the lease, we have no issue with that whatsoever.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. I believe that is all my questions for right now. Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Zimmerman? Okay, see none. Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to testify? Once again, as a reminder, if we have multiple people interested in testifying, we have another microphone up here as well. If we could just have people come on up and wait their turn to get next in line, we'd appreciate it. Hello, welcome.
Hello, my name's Serena Freet. I run the Hot Mess located at 408 South 11th Street. First, I'd like to start by thanking James Michael Bowers for bringing this in front of you all. This is, of course, something that I think has required more attention than what was originally given to it. So I thank you, and I thank everybody who has answered our phone calls, shown up to a meeting with us, to engage in conversation about what this means for our community and also like our specific neighborhood. And I will also just try to keep this brief too. So a couple of things. I think we would love to see a couple of things happen on 11th Street. One of it being, let's make this as short of temporary as possible until we build the permanent MMTC, right? That's what we would really like to see. So can we shorten it from 3 years? Can we shorten it to 18 months, right? That would be huge for us, and I think beneficial for everybody involved. And then secondly, most importantly, I think we want them to be good neighbors, right? We want the city to, we want to be proud of what LTU is putting out. We want ridership to, of course, increase, expand. I'd love to see the hours grow as we're like building this out. But also make it look nice. Make it look like it fits in our neighborhood. Make it look like we care about this. And I think we have a lot of beautiful opportunities that exist in the community to make that happen, right? So I think we can look at the Lincoln Arts Council to be able to put some beautiful murals up. I want to have adequate trash and recycling receptacles, maintenance that makes it look good and people care about it. It can't be something that is an afterthought. And I think that is what has happened where it is currently located. And I understand construction is wild and dangerous and not above, like that's above me, right? Like I don't mess with that kind of stuff. And I'm not an expert in it either. But, you know, safety is important and it matters all of the time. And we can see how we haven't actually prioritized safety for the ridership here. We can see that in the fencing. We can see that in the decision to continue to allow for the transfer terminal to be located there during like sort of the most dangerous time, right? And so the only thing we can do, not looking back, is looking forward, is like, how can we actually make this better for everybody? How can we make this be something that we can all be proud of? And that's what I really want to see. And that's why I really appreciate us having an opportunity to engage in more conversations with you all so we can actually make that happen. And I would love to see something happen like it is a non-renewable lease for only 3 years, ends in 2027, to be sure that if something happens and we all want to see the MMTC built. We all want to see that happen. But if something happens and it doesn't actually, for some reason, there has to be another plan. And y'all can make that happen. So I would love that. And again, let's make it beautiful. Let's make it like, let us be something that's like, wow, I would love to walk by that. I want to see that. I want to see people be there. I want it to be something that is like really meaningful for our community. And we have the resources, we have the time, we can do it. So thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Councilman Weber, I believe, might have one.
Yes, thank you, Chair Beckius, and thank you, Ms. Freet, for coming down. I appreciate, engaging in the local process and also just your contributions to Lincoln as a business owner. I just want to clarify, are you asking the council to overturn StarTrans' decision from the advisory committee? Or, because I agree, right, that this needed more attention, that this needed more of a dialogue. Are you asking for more conversation? Are you asking for us to deny it? I guess I just want to know what the ask is.
Yeah, that's a great question. And my answer to that is, I know you're not going to deny it, and that's okay. And I accept that, and we all accept that. I also think public transit is extremely important. I want it to succeed and thrive in our community. So we're not a bunch of people who are like anti-public transit by any mean. Yeah. I think really the biggest issue is y'all made the decision to allow for the development of the Golds, right? And we're seeing, and there was a proposal just before this that is also in our neighborhood of another redevelopment project. The biggest part of the puzzle is the small businesses that have been here that are continuing to pay the occupation tax for the arena are the ones that are kind of getting shouldered with the brunt of some of these big choices, and the small people are kind of getting left behind, right? So I guess I mean,
That answered my
Yeah.
question. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you, Ms. Free. I appreciate it.
Councilman Bowers, do you have questions?
Yeah, I guess just to piggyback off Councilman Weber's, I think in my mind, it doesn't have to be like a yes or no, right? This provides an opportunity to have, a public conversation and to see what other kind of accommodations can be made, right? So it doesn't have to necessarily be a yes or no in my mind. I just want to make sure that I got your list right. So when you talk about being good neighbors, you mentioned recycling, you mentioned a mural. Well, you mentioned like 2 or 3 other things, and I'm sorry I missed that.
Yeah, I think one, lighting, like adequate non-punitive lighting that looks good. So when people are sitting on our patio, they're not blinded by, like nasty light, if you know what I mean, is one. 2, I think we can see how, despite the contracts that are already in place, they're inadequate in terms of trash and cleanliness that exist at the current terminal. And so we would like to see that expanded. And in addition to that, we would like to have a contact person if there are issues when it does move to our neighborhood, who we contact, who can handle these things, right? Also, of course, the bathrooms are huge. We're all very, very pleased about bathrooms. That's incredible. So thank you for that. That's, bare minimum, but glad to have that happen. I think logistically we would like to know how the routes are going to operate and where the buses are going to actually fit, because there's maybe some concerns that they can't quite fit in a couple of the placements that have been designated, especially when the buses are running every 15 minutes.
Thank you so much. And the last question that I have is, having a no renewal portion on the lease, knowing that would not alleviate all of your concerns, would that at least get a little closer to alleviating some of the concerns?
Yeah, I think that's a guarantee that we should be granted with all of the uncertainty of the city still not owning the land, still waiting on the feds to come through. There's all these other kind of things that are outside of your hands and outside of the developer's hands too, and LTU's hands. So until we kind of have these things sort of secured, yeah, it would be nice to know that there is actually a long-term plan in place and there is some kind of safety net in case something unforeseeable happens.
Thank you so much.
Other questions? Okay, seeing none.
Appreciate
Thank you
your
very
time.
much. Is there anyone else here who would like to testify on this item? Anyone else here for item 5B? Anyone else here for item 5B? Okay, seeing none. Do we have questions for staff?
I do, yeah.
Okay, Director Elliott, if you would, please. Councilman Weber.
Alrighty, bear with me. I have like 6 pages of notes. Of course, they're all stapled differently, so I'll be shuffling around. My first question that I should have asked you at the very beginning, how many riders are we talking about, right? We're talking a lot about like the safety of daily riders. I think the numbers are close to 2,000, but I want to hear from the director.
Yes, so currently at the Gold's location, the transfer center right now, we average about 2,000 riders at that location on any given weekday. The weekend on Saturday is a little bit lower.
Okay. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, right? But this seems like it's a binary choice, right? Either we approve what StarTran decided on February 28th, 29th, or we deny it. And then if we deny it, nothing happens, right? The status quo.
So
am I correct?
Right. If you affirm the unanimous decision of the StarTran Advisory Board,
okay,
then it would move.
Okay.
If you overturn or reverse the StarTran Advisory Board opinion, then it would stay where it's at.
And I know that, there's not that ask before us that we don't do it, but I want to know, going down that path, right? Say we voted to deny it. Mm-hmm. Are there options left? Are there other locations we can look at, or is this it?
We've done a full analysis of the downtown area over the last 2 years to try and find another location. We would have to stay at this location until the new multimodal transportation center is available. Okay. At some point, if we got to the construction where they do need more right-of-way, there is a provision in the code where we could move without council or advisory board approval for 6 months. So we could still move for 6 months if we absolutely had to due to construction.
Okay. And you talk about that analysis of other locations. I believe Federal Transit Authority really dictates that process for us. Can you
Right.
explain to me what that process looked like?
So we had to have a number of 8, 9 criteria going into this. It was must be in the downtown area, room for a minimum of 6 buses to stop at the same time, must be ADA accessible, must have covered waiting areas, has the capacity for the daily riders plus capacity on the sidewalk for normal pedestrian activity. It also needed to ensure that the street network, the traffic system, could handle it without causing significant traffic issues. And then we also had to look at whether or not there were significant impacts to service. Because ultimately, this is a public transit and we are serving the people who ride it. So if there are significant timeline route changes, the elimination of routes, those types of things, that requires a much different analysis, such as what we're doing with the permanent multimodal.
Okay, and so then with that analysis, are there federal funds that are tied to that of why we have to follow FTA's guidance? Or, I often have said I think we know our community a lot better than people in DC or wherever they may be. Why is it that we have to follow FTA guidelines? Because this is the first time I'm seeing something like this before me.
No, I agree completely that we do know our community better than FTA.
Yep.
Unfortunately, however, they're the ones that give us over half of our budget.
Okay.
And whether or not their funds are being put into this, our system as a whole has to comply with all FTA regulations.
Okay. And I could go into my questions about other locations, compromise. I feel like that you and Mr. Zimmerman have covered that. I do have some other questions though. So signage, what is the signage going to look like at this temporary location?
So right now, there's currently a bus stop, because there are already 9 bus routes that stop there. There's 8 plus the downtown trolley that already stop at this location. They're not necessarily all at the same time, but there are buses throughout the day stopping here. So in addition, what we would be adding are a few more bus stop signs, because each location will have a designated spot for that route.
Okay.
That way the passengers don't have to guess, do I need to stand here to the left or here to the right to catch my right bus? So there'll be a few more. There'll be 1, 2, 3, and then over by the carriage, there'll be 2 there.
Okay.
So there'll be about a half a dozen additional just bus stop signs, a single post and a sign there. If we're able to attach them to existing street light or traffic lights, we'll do that to minimize the posts. That's just what we traditionally do with our signage across town. And so we'll minimize the number, but at worst, we're looking at about 5 additional small bus stop signs.
Okay, and that was a perfect tie-in with the signage, because I was going to ask about lighting next. I think Ms. Freet brought that up as a concern. I was wondering if you could speak to that.
Absolutely. So this is something as part of the work that Mr. Zimmerman was talking about, making sure that we have lighting and trying to find that balance, right? Having enough lighting that it's well lit, but also not blinding nearby property owners, residents, those types of things. So we'll continue to work on what that exact lighting is, but the plan is to have a well-lit area, especially during service hours, to make it so people don't have to wait in the dark for their buses, and that there also does not have any dark corners for any nefarious type activity.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Until Ms. Freet had brought it up, I had not considered the issue of trash and recycling receptacles. Does LTU have procedures in place to make sure that it stays clean, sanitary?
We do have a contract to have those maintained. It has become a little more challenging with the construction.
I imagine.
Just as any construction site, things tend to build up in a much more tighter, condensed area. So we will continue that. That is a bid that is going out this summer. So we'll see what company we have at that point, but we will continue to maintain that. Again, that is part of our FTA regulations, so that is not something that's going to go away.
Okay, that's good to know. That's part of. I didn't know that was part of FTA. the aesthetic and the upkeep, right? Like outside of the sanitation and cleanliness, are there plans, and I don't know if maybe Mr. Zimmerman would be better to ask, but are there plans to keep it aesthetically pleasing, I guess?
It's one of those where we didn't necessarily have plans to do murals and that type of thing, but we won't attract additional riders if the place is trashy and unattractive. So we don't want a place that is unattractive to potential customers or to our neighbors there. So we're going to do everything that we can to maintain that. And we will have trash and recycling receptacles there. We will maintain our cleaning contract. That is one where we typically have in our contract, the one that we have right now, is that if something is not being kept the way it should be, we call them and they're to respond that day as within a set number of hours. I think it's 2 or 3 hours. So we do have that in place. And I would, Ms. Freet had asked a question of who do you contact if this goes bad? Me. Call me and I will make sure that it gets done right away because we want to be good neighbors. This is something we take pride in. It's not something that we want to be a disheveled location or have trash and that around. So we take that seriously.
And this isn't a question, but I do want to say I think it is an appealing idea to maybe include some local art into that area. That's just my 2 cents. I want to throw that out there. Another thing that was brought up in public hearing that I thought was it is a concern of mine as well, right? Is there are local businesses that operate in that area, and I heard the term, and I don't know what the correct term is, so I'm going to steal it. The bus fit, right?
Oh, CFIT.
How can you explain what LTU did to make sure that the buses adequately will fit in their spots, I guess?
Definitely. So obviously each bus is a certain length.
Yep.
And then based on that, you also need some additional spacing so they can maneuver around each other. One bus might leave sooner than the bus in front of it. And so there are standard dimensions that we use for any bus stop. We have 800 bus stops across the community. Measuring sight distance between curbs and houses and fire hydrants is something we do every day in maintaining our bus stops. So this is something that our team at StarTrend has gone out, they've measured it, they've looked at it, and compared it to the standards that we have, and they are confident that we will be able to run all 6 buses in that area within the boundaries of the property lines.
Alrighty. That was my marathon questions for you. I think you did an excellent job, and I really appreciate you answering those questions for me, Director Elliott. A lot of those were my concerns, and I just want to say, not just those questions, but when it comes to parking, when it comes to the bathrooms that are being installed, you worked a lot behind the scenes, and I want to give you just a little bit of your flowers. I know that this process is challenging, and I know that as a public servant that that's what you signed up to do, but it still was challenging for you, just like it was for the community members, business owners, the developer. But I just really, on behalf of the city, want to thank you for your around-the-clock work on this issue and really bringing us a compromise solution. Well, I guess bringing StarTrend a compromise solution and being so accommodating to the council and to the community when it comes to figuring out some of these issues. So thank you for your service to Lincoln. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions for Director Elliott? Councilman?
I've got a couple questions. We talked about this one before, but just to have this conversation for folks at home, can you talk a little bit about we have to have these reviews happen with the federal government, these environmental studies, or how come we can't delay implementation until all those studies are done?
So we're confusing the 2 issues. The Multimodal Transportation Center really has nothing to do with this need for a temporary move. This need for a temporary move is exactly what Mr. Zimmerman came up and talked to you about. It is the unsafe nature of trying to work and maneuver buses and 2,000 passengers a day next to a construction site. And that is as much as any construction site tries to put up secure fencing, it is impossible to put something that doesn't move or doesn't slowly fall away just because of dirt shifting, movement, that type of thing. And so this is, and just as Ms. Freet said, public transit and safety are important. And that's why we're here. It has nothing to do with the permanent multimodal. It has everything to do with the customers we serve and their safety and quality of service that we're able to provide them next to a construction zone.
And at what point would the temporary transfer station then move? When the multimodal station is completed or when something else happens?
So the plan as we have it is as soon as the multimodal transportation center is open, the beginning of 2027, we are out of there and in the new location.
And I think that's kind of like where the connection's coming from for me, right? And I think that probably goes to some of the anxiety that folks are having about how long will this be, and if something does, if there's a hiccup with federal government dollars or, just through the normal process. You mentioned a no lease agreement. Is that something that we can add into the lease agreement to not renew after 3 years?
We can do that.
Okay, awesome. I appreciate that because I want to get to a yes on this. Another question that I have is there was a mention about having a contact person, and it's very gracious that you would be willing to be that person. I think one of the concerns that folks have is, when it comes between two people, the city and, another entity, and who ultimately is responsible for holding, a society to be clean and accountable and to make sure that it's still downtown. I don't know what the answer is to this, but I mean, what are some ways that we can make sure that when the business owners or the residents in that area give you a call, that it doesn't turn into, I don't want to say finger pointing because that sounds a little bit of a juvenile way of saying that, but how do we be clear about who's responsible for what?
If it is a bus stop, so on the north side in front of Carriage, if it is within the boundaries of where the Satels is, that's us. That is something we are fully willing and will take on the accountability and responsibility for. So that's us. If there's some other location, I can't control that. But what I can control is our area. This is one where we will work closely with Park and Go, Mr. Besessi there. With the parking garage, it's something that we'll work closely with LPD and then obviously LTU. But what I can say for sure is within the confines of those property boundaries, the parking garage and around the formerly Satel's building, that's on us. So we'll handle that.
Last question I had, there was a talk about a mural, and again, knowing that, would there be someone that would be willing to at least start the facilitation of a conversation between the business owners and the residents and the Lux Center or the Lincoln Arts Council about what might be possible in that area to improve public art?
I'm happy to see what people might be willing to volunteer or be willing to do. I know artists put a lot of work, and if it's just going to get torn down in 3 years, but I'm more than happy to have those conversations with anybody who's interested. Obviously, it's something that we don't have a budget for, so there wouldn't necessarily be funding to pay for it, but absolutely willing to see what options are out there.
I think it'd be great if the city could be a convener on that and kind of the backbone, between everyone involved to make something happen. And the other thing that I just want to say, and this is more of a comment about the no renew lease agreement, I think it's good to have a strong, public record and whatnot, but I'm also aware that the public record, if folks don't have the ability to see things through the court system, right, it limits their ability to be able to make sure that, they're being trusted justly in whatever the city makes promises to. So if there is a way to make sure that we can put in a no renew lease agreement, I think that would alleviate a lot of concerns and also provide that protection without just relying on the public record and then relying on the court system and attorneys and however that whole mess could turn out. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All done?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions for Director Elliott? Okay. Director Elliott, I do have a couple of questions, and maybe you could remind us here a little bit again as well. Before LTU were to enter into any lease on this location, could you explain to us again what would need to happen in order for you to enter into a multi-year lease at this location?
Right, both for any lease, but especially multi-year contracts. This would be a multi-year contract. Those do come before City Council for approval. And so we would be working with Rev Development on those terms. We do a number of leases every year, so pretty common terms and conditions that we would work with the law department and Rev Development on and have that come before council.
Okay. You have not been contemplating a lease beyond 2027?
Correct.
You are not contemplating a lease beyond 2027?
No.
If a lease that showed up before this council that showed a term beyond 2027, council members can simply vote no on that?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you very much. I don't think we have any other questions.
Well, I just wanted to say something to that. The difference for me between having a no lease agreement on there now, we don't know who's all going to be here in 2027, right? And so being able to say that it's not going to come in front of the council in 2027, I think is what provides people peace of mind as opposed to taking a gamble on who's going to be up here now. So that's why I would respectfully ask for the no lease agreement.
The plan for the lease is strictly a 3-year with no renewals planned.
I think you understand the intent of the council.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Director Elliott. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We don't currently have a resolution that has been made for item 5B, but I believe Councilman Bowers has signed a resolution for 5B, affirming the decision of the Star Trend Advisory Board.
Yep, what City Law had drafted up was the resolution that we would be voting on. City Law drafted it to be an affirmation as opposed to a denial.
Okay, very good. Just wanted to make sure that the city clerk knew that so that when we called that item, we know what we have something that we're voting on. So, Madam Clerk, would you take us through start us with 5A?
We'll now vote on these items. Item 5A is Comprehensive Plan Conformance 24002, a request of the City of Lincoln Urban Development Department to review as to conformance with the 2050 Lincoln Lancaster County Comprehensive Plan, a proposed amendment to the Lincoln Center redevelopment plan and South of Downtown redevelopment and strategic plan to add the League of Nebraska Municipalities redevelopment project for the demolition of the existing structures and construction of a 2-story office building on the property generally located at the southwest corner of 14th and L Streets, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Weber. Discussion? I'll just take a moment to say I think this is a great project for downtown Lincoln that not only enhances the area, but also provides decades of continued ability for the league to serve in Nebraska. And I'm particularly excited to see this project come to fruition. So thank you. Please call the roll.
Carlson?
Yes.
Dudit?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 5B is appeal by James Michael Bowers of the Star Trend Advisory Board action approving the temporary transfer center relocation proposal, introduced by Bowers.
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there a second on the, I'm assuming we're moving the resolution as submitted by Councilman Bowers?
Second.
Okay, second. Show discussion?
Yeah, I'll just speak briefly, as briefly as I can be, right? Thank you, Chair Beckius. Those who know me, right, know brief is not something that I'm known for. But seriously, I think Richard Schmeling, said it best that this wasn't an ideal process. And a lot of the time, government work isn't always ideal. It isn't always perfect. It can be messy. I also think Serena Freet said it well, too, that this was an issue that required more attention, and it received more attention from the city. And I think as a result of that, attention and the willingness from, you know, the city to engage in dialogue and for the developer to engage in dialogue, that we have a plan before us that has some really impactful compromises, right? Bathrooms happened because of this. The parking concerns were relieved because of this. Just in this public hearing, I think we saw that there was a lot of productive dialogue when it comes to receptacles, aesthetics, upkeep, safety, and that's really what this comes down to for me is the safety of our daily riders. Director Elliott, I think, did a really fantastic job illustrating how many people that this location deals with on a daily basis. I think Mr. Zimmerman did a really good job of illustrating why inaction just wasn't acceptable from the city, and I think that the community members, the business owners did a good job of illustrating where at times the city may have been able to engage in a lot more of a productive dialogue, and I'm grateful that we were able to do that today. So I will be voting to uphold Star Trans unanimous decision. But with this being in my district, obviously Director Elliott's a great point of contact, but I'd also be happy to be a point of contact for anyone who is positively impacted, but also negatively impacted by this decision. So I appreciate everyone for their work on this and for coming out today and for hosting meetings and tours and phone conversations while we make this decision. So thank you.
Other comments? Councilman?
Yeah, so like I said, when I appealed this about a month ago, one of the main goals that I wanted to have was continued public conversation and to have a conversation be brought forward in front of the council. I do value what boards and commissions vote on and the positions that they take. And so the fact that I appealed this showed that I felt like in my gut, it just made sense to have more transparency and more accountability for this. And those are always good things to have in government, and those are always good things to have in governance. So I appreciate LTU for being part of that. I appreciate the council for going through this public hearing, and I appreciate the business owners and the residents for getting their voice heard. Like I said, even in the beginning, I didn't know what a better solution would be, but what I did know is that this just didn't feel right in terms of the process, and so why I wanted to continue the conversation. I was really glad to hear Director Elliott talk about three things, and that is making sure that there's no renewal on the lease, and I think saying that and putting that in there provides some comfort to the business owners and the residents. To really reinsure that this is a temporary situation. We know how things can work when it's the federal government is involved and how delays can happen, and I've seen it happen with other projects, so I think that this brings a little bit of peace of mind. In addition, I'm appreciative that Director Elliott is being willing to be that contact person and to also be very clear about, you know, what is going to be the city's responsibility and what are, you know, other people's responsibility going to be. So that way it's not finger pointing. Because I think that sometimes people may feel that it's hard to hold people who have more power than them accountable. And so being able to kind of level out that field any way we can, I think is a good step in the right direction for these business owners and residents. And then third, being able to facilitate, again, without any promises, because, you know, this isn't going to be put into an ordinance, but being able to facilitate a conversation between, you know, the folks with the property and the business owners and the residents, and with a group like the Lux Center or Lincoln Arts Center to see what can be done. I think that would be a good show of goodwill for the business owners and residents in the area, and make a good first step forward in terms of being a good partner and a good neighbor.
Other comments or any other comments? Okay. On this proposal, a proposal was made, feedback was heard through that process, and ultimately changes were made before this was brought to the Star Trans Advisory Board. The public process here was successful, and I would just like to take a quick moment to thank the Star Trans Advisory Board for their work in this decision. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
And to clarify, a vote yes is a vote to affirm Star Trans decision, correct?
Correct. Yes. Madam Clerk?
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Concludes section 5 of our agenda. We shall move on to section 6, our public hearing ordinances, second reading and related resolutions. Item 6A is approving a contract between the city and Lincoln Haymarket Development Corporation to operate and regulate a Saturday public market in the Haymarket area from May 4th, 2024 through October 12th of 2024 and May 3rd, 2025 through October 11th of 2025.
Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Welcome, Linda.
Hi, Linda Hubka, 3169 Puritan Avenue, Lincoln. I am your Haymarket Farmers Market manager. My purpose up here is just to represent. I haven't met a number of you, so I want you to know who's running your market down there on Saturday mornings. It's going really well. It's going to be bigger this year. We've kind of gotten bigger and bigger each year since COVID. I think we're going to have some overflow onto Canopy Street, which is kind of exciting.
Oh, my.
Yeah, this is the 39th Haymarket Farmers Market. This is my 24th, so I'm about 88 years old now. Yep. Challenges this year is that we've got 5 home Husker game days, which really impact us on Saturdays. And wind and rain and heat continue to be a problem, so until we get the farmers market dome built, then we're just going to have to deal with that. And I'm kidding about that. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming
Sure.
down, Linda. Ms. Hupka, I surely appreciate it. And
Yeah.
surely we appreciate all of the work that you do to bring
Thank
the
you.
farmers market alive here in our city every summer. So
Thank
we
you.
really appreciate it. Any questions for Linda before we let her
No, I
go?
will say that I used to blow the whistle to start that thing at 8 o'clock in the morning when I was on the Lincoln Police Bike Patrol.
Yep. We still do it the same way.
Very good.
Yeah.
Carry on.
We've got some really great vendors that have been doing it longer than I've been down there, so really proud of them. They travel long distance, pay the gas,
Yep.
unload, load, go back home and do it all again. So we appreciate your business. They appreciate your business. Okay.
All right, very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on item 6A? Okay, let's move on forward to the items starting with 6B.
I'll be calling items 6B, 6C, 6D, and 6E together. Item 6B is Comprehensive Plan Amendment 23004, application of RC Kruger Development Company, Inc. to amend the Lincoln Lancaster County 2050 Comprehensive Plan to revise the future land use map on approximately 23.75 acres by changing from agriculture to commercial on generally located at 10955, 11105, 11111, and 11125, and 11205 South 14th Street. Annexation 23003, application of RC Kruger Development Company, Inc. to annex approximately 32.29 acres, more or less, on the same properties located on South 14th Street. And the related conditional change of zone and annexation agreement for Sotillo Express Business Park between the city, Ross Holdings LLC, Perry Family Real Estate LLC, Yardem Ventures LLC, Merlin Albert Vanis, and Eugene Dwayne Vanis, co-trustees of the Vanis Land and Investment Trust of Eugene D. Vanis, trustee of the Eugene D. Vanis Trust, and the Sally K. Vanis Trust for the same properties generally located at South 14th Street. Change of zone 23015, application of RC Kruger Development Company, Inc. to change the zone from AG Agricultural District to H4 General Commercial District on approximately 23.75 acres on the property generally located at South 14th Street.
Danae, welcome.
Good afternoon, members of the council. Danae Kalkowski, 1128 Lincoln Mall, Suite 105, appearing today on behalf of Yarnum Ventures, whose principals are Rick and Christopher Kruger. Also here with me today is Mike Eckert from Civil Design, so he'll be available to answer any questions. So we do have 4 items before you today: annexation, change of zone, a comp plan amendment, and then an annexation agreement. all related to about 24 acres located west of South 14th Street, and we're just north of Sawtillo. So you've got Homestead Expressway, Highway 77, and Shoemakers down here, Glass Place there. This area has had a lot of interest in it. We have 5 separate property owners that have been working together jointly with the Krugers to try to put together a little project on the west side of South 14th Street. But over the years, this area has had growing interest, and especially now with the South Beltway open, right, even additional interest. And the thing that's been holding it back really is annexation. The city's not been willing to grant commercial zoning for additional use out here without having annexation. And there's been no opportunity for any kind of contiguous annexation for this parcel until now. Kruger's been working and coordinating with FOG Limited Partnership. They have the property on the east side, and they've got 5 items on your agenda that are going to be coming right after us. So you'll get to hear about their project. But it's essential for that project to happen, for this project to happen, because it will ultimately provide the contiguous annexation that's needed to get to the west side of 14th Street. So FOG and Kruger have been working together to bring forth proposals for annexation and zoning of this area without having city water and sewer service. So the first item that was read off today was a comp plan amendment to revise the future land use map currently shown as ag. Get the area highlighted there. You can see it's virtually surrounded by commercial to the west, to the south, and to the east. So the planning staff report and the planning commission felt it was appropriate to designate this area for commercial use given the uses surrounding it. Okay. Kind of back to the same map I had up originally. So this one shows the area, same area basically for the proposed annexation and zoning. You can see again, we've got the commercial uses, we've got some H3 zoning, some I1 zoning over here, and then ultimately proposed I3 zoning over here. So again, both the planning staff report and the planning commission felt that the area was appropriate for the H3 zoning, the commercial zoning, as well as annexation. And so then the final item that we have is the annexation agreement. And as I mentioned, this one's a little bit different. We're typically spelling out exactly how we're going to get all these city services here, but everybody acknowledges that we're not going to be able to get water and sewer service here in the short term, so that there are some additional arrangements being made with respect to this annexation where the property owners are acknowledging that, and then we're spelling out how we are going to provide service. With respect to sanitary sewer, the 24 acres will be served by a community wastewater system. They will be installing sanitary sewer pipes that will collect the waste and then take it to the community system, which obviously will be designed to meet the health department standards. The property will be obtaining its water by individual wells on the individual properties. We're acknowledging in the annexation agreement the requirements that are needed in order to be able to do that. The size of the buildings and some of the types of uses that we'll be able to do are going to be limited in order to be served by the well water. And then finally, with respect to traffic, the Kruger, the properties and the FOG have agreed to one joint access point to South 14th Street. So in the annexation agreement, those parties are agreeing to conduct a grade study for South 14th Street and then to install the necessary turn lanes at that intersection to make it work for both sides. There was a traffic study completed for the properties that was reviewed by the city, and it'll give us the details for the length of turn lanes, et cetera. The idea for the grade study is to see if we can get these turn lanes built at their final at a permanent location, and if that's the case, then the properties will be eligible to get some reimbursement from impact fees generated by these projects for the grade study and for the turn lane improvements. Next steps, We don't have a preliminary plat or a special permit today, so that'll be the next step. For the property on the west side, we'll be coming back forward with either a preliminary plat, but most likely a special permit for planned service commercial for the H4 zone, intended to be kind of contractor services, trade center-like type uses down in this area. So we'll be coming back probably at least to Planning Commission with those future plans, so there'll be more details available at that time. But I think the items that you have before you for this project and the next 5 are really just a good example of how, when we can get property owners to, work together and kind of put together a vision, and then they can work with the city, that we can do good things and bring forward a project that otherwise, or property that otherwise would have sat here for a long time, and we wouldn't be able to get the potential out of it that we can if we move forward with some of these applications that are on your agenda today. So we want to thank the city staff and our FOG Limited Partnership neighbors, and we'd be happy, Mike or I, to answer any questions you might have.
Perfect, thank you. Any questions for Danae? Yes, Councilman.
Danae, is that where Outdoor Solutions is in that southeast?
I think Outdoor Solutions is right to the north, aren't they?
Yep.
North?
Yes, so you've got Shoemakers right here on the corner, and then I think Glass Edge is there, and then a couple residential properties way back in there, but
I thought they were right off of 14th Street.
they would be, but they'd be just a little bit to the north.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Farther
14th
north.
Street to
I see.
east.
Yeah,
Yep.
I see it, okay.
Yep, you can
Thank
see
you.
their yard there.
Yeah.
Other questions for Danae? Okay, very
Great,
good.
thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on items 6B, 6C, 6D, and 6E? Anyone else here who would like to speak on items 6B, 6C, 6D, or 6E? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and move on, Madam Clerk.
I'll call items 6F, 6G, 6H, 6I, and 6J together. Comprehensive Plan Amendment 23003, application of FOG Limited Partnership to amend the Lincoln Lancaster County 2050 Comprehensive Plan to revise the future land use map on approximately 73.5 acres from agriculture, AG Stream Corridor, industrial and environmental resources to industrial and environmental resources on the property generally located at South 14th Street and Satilla Road. And the related annexation 23002, application of FOG Limited Partnership and annexation of approximately 55.26 acres, more or less, for the property generally located at South 14th Street and Satilla Road. And approving the conditional zoning and annexation agreement for Jamaica North Business Park between the city and FOG Limited Partnerships for the property generally located at the east side of South 14th Street, approximately 1/2 mile north of Satilla Road. The related change of zone 23014, application of FOG Limited Partnerships to change the zone from AG Agriculture District to I-1 Industrial to I-3 Employment Center District, generally located at South 14th Street and Satilla Road. And the related use permit 23002, application of FOG Limited Partnerships to allow for a use permit to allow for development of 29 lots and 5 outlots on approximately 55.26 acres with associated waivers to the block length, sanitary sewer and manhole depth, intersection design standards, and stormwater quantity detention on property generally located at South 14th Street and Satilla Road.
And welcome.
You did that very well.
Yes,
Good afternoon. Kent Seacrest, 1128 Lincoln Mall, Suite 105, representing FOG Limited Partnership, who's one of the principals is CJ Gunzel, who's here with me today, and his sister are the principals. And CJ has a real strong value system on locally grown food, developing a new health restaurant up in Omaha. And this has been fascinating to have worked with CJ. For 2.5 years, we've been working on this one to get it right. And we're so pleased to be in front of you today to try to share with you how we feel we've gotten it right today. Brad Marshall is also here from Olson Associates, and he's been super helpful. Okay, here's the property is in red. And Danae was just talking to you about this property right to the west. So we are the property that is abutting Wilderness Park here today in front of you. And this is what I call an old commercial area. It was commercial when I was young, and that was a long time ago. So it's been outside the city. We don't allow commercial outside the city zoned anymore. You got to be inside. So that, as Danae mentioned, is why we have an annexation proposal as part of our package today. It's also interesting that the South Beltway is open, and that's created 4 new intersections. And this is the only one that really has commercial, which is generating, when we annex it, some sales tax for the city, which I think could be important along the way. We also had 2 big challenges to this. South Lincoln needs more what I call contractor type services. South Lincoln's been growing, and we just have not been keeping up. So we think this is something, if you're familiar with Horizon Business Park, which is the development just south of Southwest High School. I think this is very, very similar pattern that we are trying to emulate. That's another I-3 zoned area. This is proposed to be I-3 as well. The second big challenge to me is we're up against a very important natural resource, Wilderness Park, and all its key ecological features. So how to preserve and protect it along the way. We started this process formally 2.5 years ago. And it's probably been, it might be the longest process I've been engaged in. And I got to give CJ great credit for his patience and his perseverance and his ability to compromise along the way to make this, I think, a win-win for the community and Wilderness Park along the way. Staff first recommended many years ago that we do a master plan, not just for this property, but for the whole area, because it's been a sleepy area for a long, long, long time. So we worked hard with city staff and the Friends of Wilderness Park. Our neighbors had many meetings, hired Olson to help us with all the floodplain, drainage, local water, wastewater, transportation, circulation, and wetland features to figure out how to make it work. And so we developed a master plan with everybody's help. We also then had a meeting with all the neighbors to review the master plan. And again, I think it was well received at that public meeting along the way. So here's a couple of the unique features. The first one is a comprehensive plan. And I can show you this map, which is hard to understand, but I can show you this map, which I think will explain what we're really up to. We're turning the purple area to be I-3 zone. And I-3 is the highest quality, highest standard zone, industrial zone we have. Lots of design standards and lots of no dirty smokestacks, no dirty industries. So that is the first thing that the comprehensive plan is allowing us to do. The second thing is that other area will be preserved for open space and flood storage. And if it's economical, we hope to do a wetland bank, not only for what you would call prairie wetland, but we could be doing a forested wetland, which is really a unique missing opportunity in our community along the way. The other thing the comprehensive plan is setting up is that 5-acre piece. We are formally dedicating and transferring that to the city of Lincoln to add to Wilderness Park. It looks very similar. It's a very treed area with an oxbow, and so that will become part of a conveyance to the city of Lincoln to make this go forward. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, what the comprehensive plan. Oh, and I don't know if you can see that, but we're 804 feet away from Wilderness Park. Horizon Business Park, which is, again, kind of on the other side, was only 100 feet away. So we're 8 times further away from Wilderness Park as part of the compromise to make this go forward. The next thing we're up to is our infamous annexation plan, and that's what that looks like. Wilderness Park is already annexed, so we're just tacking onto that, and when we annex that, then Danae's client, the Kruger, can then annex too. So that's how we get that zoning pattern to work. We've mentioned we're turning these these parcels into I3 zoning along the way. And so that's another opportunity that we've talked about. We also then have what I call the I3 use permit. So we have a specific site plan. This I3 requires site plan review. So we have this as our proposal. You're seeing about 29 industrial commercial type lots, grandfathered from fill compensatory storage requirements in this area. So this has been part of the important exercise with watershed that we've gone through. We also have a 35-page annexation agreement that spells out how we are doing our water and our storm and our roads and our sewage treatment system along the way. We got stuck, we were at planning commissions over 6 months ago, and we thought we were heading home then, but we had to work on the annexation agreement, and we ran into dialogue to figure out how to do better and what I call fire protection. And we finally worked it all out so that we comply with the city's fire protection requirements. But it took a while to figure out that language along the way. So we're here in front of you with 5 different things, different land use patterns. The planning department's recommending support on all 5. The planning commission had a long public hearing and they said 7-0. They're all on board. They were very complimentary. And now we're asking for your approval. And I could take as long as she took to read to thank all the people involved in this process, because it's a long, long list, including many city staff people that went beyond the call of duty. And we just appreciate that. And our friends from Wilderness Park, there you are, is here. And we appreciate his time, and Foster Collins and Nicole Fleck, who's got involved, and Travis Jensen. But I do want to thank CJ for his willingness to compromise and work with the community on this project. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any of your questions.
Questions do we have for Kent? Yes, Councilman Shob.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Seacrest, thanks for coming forward. Developers, thank you, guys. I'm looking at the map, and I'm just a little disoriented. You mentioned the Oxbow, and I can see that. And that will be ceded to the Wilderness Park.
Well, it'd be deeded to the city. Now, I think the Wilderness Park's owned by the county, and then you ask the Parks Department to manage it all.
So the property line, then it kind of juts back again to the west, right below the Oxbow. I think the last one you had on top was probably the...
Let me get that map back up for you. I have it here.
It's on Google Earth.
I pulled up a nice Google Earth, and it seems to be a lot of...
If you do Google Earth, you can actually see the old Oxbow.
Yeah.
It actually follows the west side of that 5-acre green area.
Yep.
And so that's what quacks and looks and feels just like the park today. So that's why we are donating that, so it becomes... But then the other area is also going to have a conservation easement, and it will be used for flood storage and maybe, like I said, maybe a wetland bank, both prairie and forested wetlands.
So through the middle of this, is that of a stream or a channel?
Oh,
the greenway down the middle?
Right
Yeah.
there, that is a drainage way, and that's where the minimum flood corridor goes. That's is required to be like 102 feet, and we're doing 130 feet. So we're protecting that, and that's where Olson was very creative at figuring out how to get the 100-year water through, so our properties stayed dry and could meet the 2-foot freeboard requirements.
I think that helps me a lot. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions for Kent? Okay, I don't have any questions, but I just want to thank you and thank CJ for working through this. I mean, to be able to bring this type of project to this area of Lincoln with the zoning that you're proposing, while being respectful of the park and the friends there that support it, it's a big win.
Thank you.
Very good. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on items 6F, G, H, I, and J? Adam, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, good evening, Council. I'm Adam Hintz, 1919 Prospect Street, speaking in support on behalf of Friends of Wilderness Park, a local nonprofit dedicated to the celebration and protection of Wilderness Park. In 1999, Wilderness Park Sub-Area Plan identifies 19 possible areas for acquisition or management. I'm going to go ahead and throw this up here real quick. I know it takes a little bit of time, but while we're waiting for this to pop up, like Kent said, this is a 2.5-year conversation. And if you remember what happened 2.5 years ago, you know, Friends of Wilderness Park has become a much stronger organization since that time, and we've really recognized that we really need to engage things on the far front end. And when we were notified that this land was in movement, which is section 12, I believe here, so this has been part of the Wilderness Park master plan for 25 years now. And so it's really wonderful to see this plan continuing to move forward. It does need to get updated, and I know Parks is planning on updating the master plan, but it's still wonderful every time we can get a piece of riparian corridor woods added into the park system that really protects it and keeps it intact, which is really what we need. Can't let that stuff be tilled over or anything like that. And we're very glad that this plan has placed this in there. Much of this property is part of the floodplain and floodway, and which made us very curious on how the applicant was going to successfully develop this area. When a proposal to change the future land use map from Ag Stream Corridor to I-3 is considered, it must be weighed with the utmost sensitivity to the floodplain. I'm happy to report FOG and LTU watershed have shown much sensitivity to the floodplain issues. One thing I do want to point out too is the comprehensive plan has many policies and actions involved, and I think there was at least a dozen actions relating to conservation and prairies and parks that were addressed. If you look at my testimony from planning, I list it there. The big part of this whole equation was CJ. You know, the person that owns the land, who ultimately decides what happens to that land, being the amazing human being that he is, did the work and made the suggestions and made the orders to protect Wilderness Park. He allowed us to go ahead and walk and look at that land and kind of think about, you know, what needs to get, what would be the ideal situation here. And for us, you know, our priorities are Wilderness Park centrally, but then also whatever comes around, you know, it's not so much what's happening in the park that's harming the park, it's what happens around the park that affects it. And so as we create these buffers, you know, this was a prime opportunity. That area is an amazing forested area. It looks just like Wilderness Park. And there's plenty of oaks, which hold at least 200, you know, species in just one specimen. So we're preserving biodiversity in this section. And then on top of that, we're creating a wetland and a prairie area, even more, you know, to preserve that and put that in. And it's been one of the most refreshing conversations that I've had with a property owner in a long time, and I really do see this as a model for future dialogues. If it can happen here, it can happen all along the borders of Wilderness Park. It can happen in other sensitive areas, because there's a lot of beauty here in Lancaster County that needs to be protected. And it was a privilege to be a part of this conversation, to have the wherewithal to say, hey, you know, let's get Solidago involved in this. And I have to give a lot of credit to Solidago, to Cole and Travis for their suggestions, Tim Zock, Carter Hubbard, who's with Olson, who is a floodplain guru and master. He really looked at where the water was flowing and how to make sure that what's happening upstream does not affect what's going on downstream. And so I think this is a moment of true light, and celebration again. I mean, I'm a paid cheerleader, you know, and this is definitely something that I'm more than happy to just, again, thanks CJ for being that part of the equation. Thanks to Olson and Kent and everyone involved for then doing the due diligence of following the wishes of the property owner and really bringing this to life. And I'm excited to walk that land again and just be in love with it as much as I am the rest of the park. So,
I can see that.
yeah.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. Is there anyone else here who would like to testify on items 6F, G, H, I, and J? Anyone else here for items 6F, 6G, 6H, 6I, and 6J? Okay, seeing none. Madam Clerk, let's move on.
That concludes section 6 of our agenda. Section 7 is resolutions. First readings are items 7A through 7G. Section 8 of our agenda is ordinances, first reading, and related resolutions, items 8A through 8I. And section 9 is our pending list, items 9A through 9H.
We're going to take a quick 5-minute break here before we get to public comments. We are adjourning here at 5:11 or so. We will reconvene at 5:17. All right, we will move into the public comment section of today's hearing. Anyone wishing to address the council on a matter not on this agenda and not plan to appear on a future agenda may do so now at public comment. Individuals are allowed a total of 5 minutes to speak regardless of the number of topics. For the month of April, public comment sessions will be held on April 8th and April 29th. Hello, welcome.
Afternoon, Keishon Langelo, 323 North 44th Street. I'd like to speak on Palestine. I'd like for you to put forward a resolution to vote for a permanent ceasefire. Right now, we're in our 6th month of, well, 6 plus 75 years of ongoing genocide. I want to give y'all an update of everything that is going on. As of right now, 62% of residential buildings have been destroyed in the Gaza Strip. That's about $18.5 billion worth of damage. 8 out of 10 schools in the Gaza Strip have been destroyed. 10 out of 36 hospitals are now partially functioning. That's 84% hospitals damaged or destroyed. 33,000 plus Palestinians have been killed. About 14,000 children have been killed out of that number of 33,000. 1 out of 70 people have been killed in Gaza, so about 180 per day. 1 out of 30 have been injured, 75,815, about 400 per day. 2.3 million face starvation. The UN says famine will take hold in May. People in Gaza are surviving on about 245 calories per day. 1.9 million have been displaced, more than 80% of the population, and more than 100 journalists have been killed. That's more than the whole Second World War have been killed in this 6 months. Now, I'm not sure if you heard about what happened on the 1st of April with drone strikes against the World Central Kitchen convoy. So on the 1st of April, as you can see here is pictured, we have positioned where the first vehicle was, second vehicle, and the third vehicle. These were aid workers going into Gaza to help feed the starving Palestinians. Anybody going in and out of Gaza needs to have the permission of the Israeli government. And they have to tell them ahead of time, this is where I'm gonna be, this is where I'm gonna go, this is the route I'm gonna take. And that's what they did. And then Israel let them in to the Gaza Strip to go feed the people of Palestine. On the 1st of April, 3 Israeli drone strikes killed 7 World Central Kitchen aid workers as they were returning after delivering food to starving Palestinians. Using open source data, witness statements, and images, Al Jazeera's Sanad verification agency reconstructed the events. So here you had the first strike, what happened. After the first armored vehicle was hit, the injured climbed into another armored car, the second one, which was then struck by a second missile. The third car in the convoy, an unarmored one, was then hit by a third missile. As you can see right here specifically on this car, it says World Central Kitchen. If I am doing a drone strike, which we could see from the videos that they have for drone strikes, you can clearly see that says World Central Kitchen. There is no excuse for what they did. They killed 7 people who were just trying to give aid and feed the people of Palestine. These vehicles, so like the first vehicle right here was hit, and then as you can see, about 800 meters, about a half of a mile apart was the second vehicle, and then the third vehicle got hit at about 1.6 kilometers, about 1 mile away. There is no excuse for the killings of these aid workers. They did not deserve this. And these are only 7 of multiple aid workers that have already been killed by Israel. I already talked about the journalists. We already talked about the 33,000 people that have already been killed. We have to put forward a resolution and vote on a permanent ceasefire. Otherwise, we are complicit in this killing. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, thank you very much. We do have an open microphone. If anyone else would like to come up and prepare themselves, we'll take testimony. Hello, welcome.
Hi, Julie 10020 White Pine Road. So first, I want to talk about public comment. It seems like you guys don't want us to have the public comment, even though it's by law you have to. So you put it, but first you put it at the very end, which is not accessible for everyone, because it's only twice a month. It's at the very end, and the fluctuated time of the duration of your meeting. Last week was just 28 minutes. It's not even 30 minutes. It's 28 minutes. This week is what? 2 hours, 20 minutes? Yeah. So someone who want to come and make a public comment about what's their concern and what they want to put on the agenda, they just have to show up at the beginning and sit and wait until whenever it's come to their turns, and only twice a month. So make sure it's more accessible, because I don't think it's accessible for now. Second, we've been here since October, so it's been 6 months of genocide. And one thing we struggled with was, we're like, what do we come to talk about? Because information is out there, you guys should know, so we'll assume you know. Turns out, some of you might have no idea what's going on. Because last week when we're here to confront you guys, Tom Duden, when we asked you, you're like, what have you guys been doing about the release of hostages? That's such a silly question. Because if you really follow the news, Israel is never for the hostages. They even kill their own hostages. I don't know if you've heard about the 3, one that make it out there, run away, and have the white flag running and got shot by the Israeli, right? They was not about hostages. Or Hamas have been over and over and over again put out their ceasefire resolution and say, hey, we'll give you back all the hostages if you release this many hostages on your side that you've been keeping for years. Kids like too young that in the military prison, right? They still refused. They was not about hostages. If they was, they have to agree with that and get these people out. Also, as my friend here just talked about, right, about the aid worker. If you really think about it, with how much they've been bombing Gaza, how do they make sure that they didn't bomb their own hostages, right? If you say, oh, they have eyes on it and they know what they're doing with the technology and everything, they should know how to avoid their own hostages so they don't kill them. Then what about all the kids and pregnant women and seniors who have nothing to do with Hamas, right? So either way, they are guilty. They're super guilty. Either if they know who they're bombing or if they didn't know who they're bombing. Either way, they are guilty. So your question is, it's just showing us that you have no ideas what's going on, or you just to shut down. Oh, it's about Israel. They should be right. I don't need to follow anything. They should be right. They are straight right. I don't need to read. So please go home, read more, educate yourself more, because otherwise, I don't know why we even have you guys sitting on there, because you have no idea what's going on around the world right now. So watch Democracy Now!, AJ Plus, Al Jazeera. There's so many news outlets out there repeatedly reporting things every single day. Just read and watch, educate yourself. Okay, so have about 1 more minute left. I'm just going to talk about one person that you might already heard the name of, Aaron Bushnell. 25 years old, active military. On the 25th of February, he self-immolated in front of Israeli embassy in DC. Okay? To have someone go through that degree of pain and stuff and keep yelling "Free Palestine," it's have to make some sense to you, like there's something really wrong's going on. And before that, he's were writing a lot of things. he say, I realized that a lot different between me and my friends. My less radical friend is that they are less capable of imagining a better world than I am. So maybe use the same. There can be a better world. So vote for a resolution. Because if you sit through this, how long can you stay as a city council? And will you be able to bear the whole shameful for the rest of your life, being not able to just put our resolution and vote for it?
Your
right?
time limit's up.
Yeah. So
Thank
do
you.
it. Do it.
Thank you very much. If we have anyone else who would like to testify on any item, please come up to the second microphone. Hello, welcome.
Hello, my name is Anastasia Fenner. I live at 2315 D Street. I can't help but notice that in the jubilation of the mayor's awards of excellence, I hear a lot about, ending trauma. And what about children without mothers? And what about the countless orphans? What about the orphans that you all are creating in Gaza? Because the simple fact of the matter is that you are all members of a political party, and whichever political party you are a member of, they are funded by the killers. Your election, the reason that you are sitting here and getting pats on the head by Larian is because you are paid to allow this killing to go on. So, being a traumatized person because of all this, I would like to share a poem alongside of this video. This poem is called I Can't Stop Seeing Dead Kids Walk. I see her standing, laying there. Night and day dance above me. I step closer. I see her pink shirt with love trailing down her chest. She stands, lays there. I can't tell if she laughs or if her belly distends because of chest compressions. I can see her ponytail pulled back. I can see the little bits of her hair sticking out, but the light keeps fading. From the smiles on her face to blood-matted hair and a slack jaw. I can see her right there in the candy aisle begging her mother for chocolate, but I can also see her here on the ground, skin gray as concrete. And as I walk in the grocery store, the light keeps fading and returning, the light in her eyes flashes on and off, on and off, on and off, and it won't stop until she looks into me with her dead eyes. I see so many children around Lincoln that look so much like these children. What have you done to stop it? Are you your words sitting here saying that you care are completely useless because you allow a city to be a stronghold of a death economy. Y'all have zoning laws, can see that you know how to do zoning laws. Why don't you do something to make it so that the city of Lincoln and Lancaster County is no longer responsible for this mass death? These kids that I keep seeing that have already survived bombings, that have already been displaced, continue to be displaced, continue to be disabled. Do you not care because it ain't happening in your own hometown? Because I'm real tired of living in the insanity of seeing you guys laugh and pat each other on the backs while the entire organizations that has your support, the reason that you are here, the reason that you have been elected by these bloody political parties is to continue to allow it to happen. You have more power than any of us. You can actually do something. But instead, we get chintzy emails about if we did put something up, no one would second it. It's why don't you put pressure on your fellow fucking colleagues then? You have the responsibility to do right by us. You have not done right by us. None of you. This entire body is guilty. Do we even know if that World Central Kitchen, do we know if any of those parts came from Lincoln? We don't. But they might have. Are you proud of your city? Are you proud that you personally sit here off of the blood of innocent people? Because it really doesn't make any sense how you have like clearly been given like time and opportunity and education about what is going on, and instead you call us children as if we're not talking about a just cause, as if there's no reason for us to be here. That is insulting to humanity itself. You laugh in the face of death. You are death. And cowards. Cowards. You took your blood money and you ran. Call for a ceasefire, Tom.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to testify today during public comment? Anyone else here who would like to testify during public comment today? I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I would second that.
Second, Carlson. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Duden,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Schopp,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes,
Motion carried 6-0.
we are adjourned.